The first one I want to bring up it may seem a little bit silly, but it's really important. And this is ensuring that you address all of the criteria. So it's really important to make sure that of those 5 criteria that you are addressing them all. It does help us make up the fuller picture of the educator or educators that we're looking at. So that's key before you even get started. It's really also quite valuable to think carefully about the category that you select and to make sure that you align your portfolio to that category quite well. It's stated in the guidelines that you can also refer to other categories, but I think having a good understanding relationship to the category that you've selected can really help to kind of set the scene for the overall portfolio. So that's quite an important thing too. Another key point, I think, is to bear in mind that the panel will have all sorts of different backgrounds educationally and from industry. And so there's no guarantees that they will be up with your specific discipline. So it's really important to write your portfolio so that it is going to be understandable by people within different disciplines. So try not to put in too much jargon, or if you need to, make sure that you can explain carefully what that means. And a good practice for that is actually to have someone from a different discipline have a quick read through what you've written to make sure it will make sense to most other people. The next point I had was actually thinking about putting yourself in the panel's shoes and really painting a picture of what your education practice is all about. So they won't know you necessarily, and actually if they do, they probably won't be assessing your portfolio. So this is the one shot that you have of getting your points across to the panel. And the more complete a description you can provide of what your education practice is all about, the better. There are some that you can read and it makes you feel like you know just how great an educator the person is, or the people, if it's a group. So that's really important. I think paint a picture if you can. Try not to just put a whole lot of points in. There are times where it makes sense to just list off some of the key achievements, but they have to make sense on their own, I think. And to expand on that a little bit, I think it's really valuable to talk about what your education practice means in your context. So, for example, there are key elements that we're looking for through the criteria, being learner-centered, for example. Don't just list that as something that you do. Explain why or what it is about your practice that makes you a learner-centered educator. And that can make all the difference, I think, to a portfolio. It's really important to gather whatever evidence you can. And I think it's also quite useful to have varied evidence. So you might have great testimonials from learners. You might also have things from your peers, formal evaluations, external feedback, etc. Having multiple elements of evidence across the portfolio also really helps give confidence to the panel that you are kind of the type of educator that we're looking for.